in the winter of 1944, as snow covered the mountains and fear covered the people. Haki Stërmilli kept a diary. He recorded panic, the movement of partisan brigades, hunger, exhaustion, and the courage of those who chose not to bow to the occupier. These are his words, exactly as he wrote them, exactly as he lived them. March 1st, 1944. Panic. The entire village rushed outside, trying to flee to the mountains, because a long line of people was descending from the slopes of Zabzun. I put on my worn shoes, waiting for Hajdar, ready to climb the heights so I would not fall into the enemy's hands. The alarm of the Germans approaching spread in every direction. Fast as lightning, people were running, desperate to escape danger. Then word reached us. They are not Germans, they are partisans. Who could believe that? How could such a large force descending through the snow be anything else but the enemy? But then, we saw them with our own eyes. My heart leaped with joy, an overwhelming joy. After days of fear and sleepless nights in the mountains, the people calmed down and rejoiced. They went out to welcome them. The endless column of these heroes seemed as if it had no end, sliding down the frozen slopes, marching straight toward the village, as if returning home to their own people, their own land. This was the First Brigade, the pride of our resistance, the first in number, the first in victories, the first to face both the foreign enemy and the traitors within 3 battalions, crossing fields and mountains to confront the German ballist forces. And I, with all my heart, was ready to march with them. Their difficult journey through the mountains, in cold, hunger, and danger, filled our people with courage, with the belief that the days of liberation were drawing near. Later, about 20 partisans arrived where I was staying. Their coats still carried patches of snow, their boots were worn, their faces pale from hunger and exhaustion. They looked as if the snow had grown onto their bodies. Some had no shoes at all, only strips of cloth tied around their feet. Their legs were bleeding from the cold. They had not eaten, had not slept, had not rested. They had marched and fought endlessly. And yet they stood tall, strong in spirit, Titan-like, fearless if the enemy appeared. They would throw themselves at him with youthful fury, with the courage of men ready to sacrifice everything for the freedom of their people. They greeted us with the shout, "Death to fascism!" Later, after eating a little bread, they began to sing their revolutionary song, "From fascist claws and cruel oppression, through the call to arms, we rise, for in struggle lies our salvation." The old man of the house watched them in awe, unable to believe that these tired, frozen fighters cared so little for their own suffering, and so little for the dangers that might await them on the road ahead. I explained to them how we had retreated from Shen Mehil, how Enver Hoxha and the others moved toward the south, how we, who remained behind, had been attacked repeatedly by the enemy. When I asked about the situation in the south, Mehmet Shehu told me, "I don't think the ballists can gather their forces so quickly, and even if they do, they will feel the weight of the First Brigade. If they come," he said, "we will turn this village into a small Stalingrad." I warned him. They might strike by surprise. He shook his head. "They won't dare move at night, even if they do. Tonight, no one leaves this place. The men need rest. Look at them. They've fallen asleep where they stood." Only he and 2 or 3 others were still awake, working, planning, preparing for the next battle. Their resolve, their discipline, their iron character could be felt in every word. He told me that across Albania, our fighters had struck heavy blows against the enemy. At dawn, the vanguard left toward Martinesh, followed by the rest of the force. Many wore rags, some were barefoot, but they marched on. The old man of the house gave one of them a sheepskin, so he could at least wrap his feet. At midday, the last battalion of the brigade passed through, moving toward the front lines. War news arrived. 300 ballists were waiting in Shullen to block the brigade, but when they saw the partisans marching in a long line across the snow, they hid, afraid to face them. The old man, astonished, said, "If you do not win, then the whole world must be mad." He also told me a small story. That morning, a partisan had asked him for a cigarette. The old man, busy with his chores, had not heard him. When the partisan repeated the request and explained he hadn't smoked in days, the old man felt pity. He offered him a handful of tobacco and asked, "Why didn't you take it yourself if you needed it?" The partisan replied, "I cannot touch anything without the owner's permission. Otherwise, it would be a sin." The old man was moved deeply, astonished by the moral purity of these young fighters. He told me he prayed with all his heart for their victory and for the liberation of the country. These were the words of Haki Stërmilli, written in hunger, cold, and danger, but also in hope. A voice carried across the decades, a reminder of sacrifice, of courage, of a people who refused to bow. Another memory preserved, another truth recovered by the black folder.